Ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Sanders was on Meet the Press, and he weighed in on what's happening in the Israel-Palestine conflict. It's not a conflict. It's a genocide. That's and no, Israel doesn't get to kill them over it. They get to unoccupy them.
But students don't feel safe, Jimmy.
I know, they don't feel safe. So Bernie tweeted out, this is the video Bernie tweeted out from that interview. And this is the one that he thought made himself look good. Let's watch.
What the president is trying to do is trying to make clear to Netanyahu and his right-wing extreme government is, yes, you can go to war against Hamas, but you cannot go to war against the Palestinian people and cause the horrific damage to human life that we are seeing right now. Margaret, there have been 16,000 people killed so far, Palestinians, 2/3 of whom are women and children. You're talking about 1.9 million people displaced, going around without any water, food, without any medical supplies. It is a humanitarian disaster, and the United States has got to put all of the pressure that it can to tell Netanyahu to stop this disastrous military approach.
So that's what Bernie tweeted out, and I just want to play it one more time and stop it and let the fellows from Dissidence comment on it, because their commentary on this is spot on. So let's just play a little bit of it. Here we go.
What the president is trying to do is trying to make clear to Netanyahu and his right-wing extreme government is, yes, you can go to war against Hamas, but you cannot go to war against the Palestinian people.
So what do you say about Bernie saying the president's trying to make that clear?
You know, trying to make clear. That's his big line, right? He would say that on the campaign trail. We have to make clear to the billionaires that they can't have it all. We need to make clear to the fossil fuels that they can't pollute the earth. We need to make clear to the pharmaceutical companies that they can't rip off seniors for the prescription drugs, blah, blah, blah. When he's talking about a lot of those causes, at the time he was championing like populist causes with no real chance of success. And so we have to make clear to the billionaires that they can't have it all. The billionaires just said, basically, go get your fucking shine box. What are you going to do? Yeah. Oh, you made it clear. Ooh, scary. In this case, though, in this particular case, though, Joe Biden has the cards to end this right now. So we need to make clear, the president is making clear to Netanyahu that he has to stop genociding the Palestinians, and he didn't use that word. We can make very, very clear our policy right now. One phone call, Joe Biden can end this. So this whole like rhetorical game he plays with his base, we're going to make clear to the pharmaceutical companies they can't rip us off anymore. That's all rhetoric. In this case, it's not just rhetoric. In this case, Joe Biden could make very, very, very clear his intentions and make those intentions reality if he wanted to. So Joe Biden does not want to. The reason that now over 16,000 Palestinians are dead, most of whom women and children, the reason that is continuing to happen is because Joe Biden is signing off on it.
Oh, you mean he's not making it clear?
Right, he's choosing not to make it clear. He is by choice not making it clear.
So the problem is,
to be fair, it might be the dementia.
So the problem is Netanyahu sitting there in Israel going, I'm just not clear on what Joe Biden wants from me. It's murky. And so Bernie's there to make sure that Joe Biden knows he needs to make it clear. And you're saying that's bullshit.
We saw clips of it.
Yes.
If it were clear, there'd be no genocide.
That's right.
Bibi's made it
we
clear
have the power in this situation. That's the difference, right? Medicare for all, the ordinary people who were supporting Bernie Sanders $27 at a time had no power. They had no power to put any teeth behind the phrase, make it clear to the pharmaceutical companies. We can make it clear. We have the power in this situation. That's the difference. That's why that's a bunch of gaslighting nonsense.
Everything he says is gaslighting nonsense. It's just next level for good things against bad things.
Right, yeah.
He just has his own spin on that. I'm talking to my very good friend Joe Biden. I'm having him write a very strongly worded letter on a good bond paper. And he's going to mail it by snail mail. He's a traditionalist that way. I told him, Joe, you can use email, but he insists to mail it the old-fashioned way. I told him it's a war zone. It might not get to him, but we'll see.
Didn't get certified. He said that costs extra. I said not that much.
Not that bad.
It's not that bad.
I send it registered mail, so he has to sign, so you know he got it. You know he got it at least, Joe.
So now here is the video. So that's the video that Bernie tweeted out from that interview that Bernie thought made him look good. Him telling Joe Biden he has to make it clear. Now here's
he doesn't.
I know
They can attack them.
He could just take the money away. But here's the video that AIPAC, the Jewish lobby, actually tweeted out from that same interview. So AIPAC is taking a piece of that interview as his endorsement of Netanyahu's policies. And why is that? Well, because watch this.
In terms of a permanent ceasefire, I don't know how you can have a permanent ceasefire with Hamas, who had said before October 7th and after October 7th that they want to destroy Israel. They want a permanent war. I don't know how you have a permanent ceasefire with an attitude like that.
So, actually, Bernie, you can have a ceasefire real easy when you're the one supplying the fire. You can just cease doing that.
Yeah.
And what do you think that they have on Bernie for him to play this dumb? Send your best guesses to the Jimmy Dore Show. Folks, this is not AI. It's not Mike McRae or Kyle Dunnigan. This is Bernie Sanders, who has become more of a cartoon than any parody of him could possibly capture. Yes, I was championing for civil rights 60 years ago. I was willing to be thrown to the ground and arrested, but that was before my wife got into deep shit, and now I've got to toe the line.
Oh, that's right.
So I hate to tell you, but old Bernie is no more. I am now Neo Bernie. And just like Neo anything, it gives you a rough idea of what's coming. The only good Neo is either from Matrix or Neosporin.
He's like Molotov from The Death of Stalin. You see that?
I mean, how absurd is that? How absurd is that? We have to make clear to Netanyahu that he can't bomb the Palestinian people. All right, well, should we have a ceasefire? Well, no, we can't have a ceasefire. But we have to make clear that he's not at war with the Palestinian people. Well, he just bombed 10,000 women and children to death. Should we have a ceasefire? Well, no, I don't see how you could do that.
He said in terms of a permanent ceasefire.
Well, this is why I said once that pause expired, they had the 4-day pause. That was the big virtue signal out of Bernie, out of Warren, out of a few others.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we can't have a permanent ceasefire, but what we need is a pause. Okay, so they took a 3 or 4 day pause, and then they started bombing southern Gaza. They started bombing the zone which people were told to evacuate to. So what is their next play? Like, what do they say now that makes any sense? I think this is why, to go back to the first segment that we did, I think this is why a lot of those younger, more progressive people are just giving up on the party, because now there's just they've just run out of bullshit stories to tell these people.
Yeah. Everything that he says is just really a virtue signal to run cover for the establishment. That's the role that he serves. Was that who he always was? I don't know. I think there is actually something to. I met Jane Sanders when he was campaigning. I worked a lot of security for his campaigns when he would be in New York. I would volunteer, and I personally, honestly, did not like her vibe, and I trust my judgment of character. Yeah, that thing up in the college, she did that shit, man.
What did she do?
It was financial chicanery with getting big loans for the college that. Go ahead. Do you know more about it than me, Russ?
She claimed that enormous amounts of money could be raised based on new facilities they were going to build and new programs they were going to open. And really, she misrepresented the potential to the bank. And there was a lot of pressure building on that. And once Bernie dropped out, you never heard about it again. It just went away.
Wow.
So that's how they get you. That's their,
like Trump.
They're doing a similar thing. They do that. It sounds like Trump, right? It sounds like what he's being indicted for felonies. So there's Bernie Sanders.
It sounds a lot like that.
He's saying yes. He's saying he has to stop. That Joe Biden can't stop he has to stop killing the people of Gaza, the Palestinians. But you can't have a ceasefire with these people. I can't think of a single way to stop a single killing going on in Gaza. I can't.
Yeah.
And by the way, all you people who are spending all this money on artificial intelligence to manipulate it to look like politicians are saying what you want them to say, turns out you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
You can just actually get them to say what you want to say, and this is the fucking proof right here.
It doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much. All you got to do is threaten a prosecution of his wife and probably his son. I think his son scammed money from the Bernie Sanders Foundation too.
That Bernie Sanders Foundation was like the Ramsey outdoor store in the
remember this what is that?
It was a bust out.
Bust out. Yeah.
It was a bust out. No, there's like Rick James on the old Chappelle show. Oh, I have more sense than to rub my shoes in the couch. Yeah, I rubbed my shoes in the couch. You know? On one side, it's we have to put a stop to this. On the other side, we definitely cannot put a stop to this.
Here's what Aaron Mate says. Thank you, Senator Sanders, for reminding us what a tool you are. Bernie argues that you can't have a ceasefire with Hamas because it's vowed to continue resisting occupation. It doesn't occur to him to call for ending the occupation. He has no problem with the ceasefire with Israel, even though Israel is the one committing genocide. Bernie is therefore endorsing occupation and genocide. And that's why AIPAC is thanking him. And he links to the tweet. Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your strong support, your strong opposition to a permanent ceasefire with Hamas. That's AIPAC tweeting out a clip from Bernie's interview on Meet the Press. And here's one more for you. I think Bernie was able to resist all of the carrots they offered him. But when the DNCIA, Bloomberg, found a stick that would work on him, he became their boy. Boy, did he.
Hey, Bernie, we'll let you walk around talking about the billionaire class all you want, or we can prosecute your wife. What do you prefer?
What do you want, Bernie? And that's exactly... There's no other explaining what happened to Bernie Sanders and that he's being squeezed. And so he's just going to do the bidding of evil. And Bernie Sanders is therefore evil. And he's not your friend. Bernie's now your enemy. And he's been that way for a long time. As soon as he endorsed Hillary Clinton, and he didn't demand anything for it, even though everyone knew that they rigged the primary against him. It's not me saying it. Elizabeth Warren said it on television. Down in Brazil, put it in her book that they rigged it.
Did she walk that back?
She was the head of the DNC. It's in her book. You can't walk back something you put in your book. She found the contract that Hillary Clinton had with the DNC that gave her complete control of the DNC, their messaging, their advertising, everything. And that's a violation. That should have been fraud. They should have been prosecuted for it. I don't know how that's not election fraud, but it is. But it's not. Nothing's a crime unless you have somebody in government willing to prosecute that crime. Mm-hmm. Just like right now they're prosecuting Donald Trump on RICO statutes. Meanwhile, George Bush and Dick Cheney, who ordered a torture program, didn't get prosecuted because Barack Obama didn't prosecute them. So there's not a crime there. So you need somebody in government willing to prosecute that. And apparently they're willing to prosecute Bernie's wife and possibly his son. And that's why Bernie turned into evil.
They'll only prosecute you if you're messing with their money, if you're messing with their game, if you're messing with their plans. Otherwise, there's really nothing they'll prosecute you for. Not only that, they'll lionize you. Look, George Bush, war crimes, torture. All he has to do is share a sucking candy with Michelle.
I was just going to bring that up.
And the majority of Democrats now approve of George W. Bush. The majority. Remember, he was Trump.
So no,
he was Trump.
What he really did, what George Bush really, yes, I remember when people hated George Bush like they currently hate Donald Trump. I remember that time.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yep.
But
Yep.
what really turned it for him with the mainstream news media was a couple of years ago at a 9/11 thing. He gave a speech where he said the January 6th protesters were a threat to our democracy and that MAGA was an enemy of our Constitution. And they were like, that's all we needed. You called you called all our political enemies enemies of the Constitution and enemies of democracy. Thank you, George Bush. You're now welcome back into shit-lib society.
See,
and that was that.
Terror expert George W. Bush pointed out the real terrorists.
That's right. That's right. Okay, over to Steph.
Hey, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there for more AM Joy and the rest of MSNBC. And click on any of the videos right here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. And you can get more videos from MSNBC for free every day with our newsletter. Just visit